She played me, ruined my self-esteem, kept me as a backup but ended up screaming on the streets. I was reminded of this story from my youth while comforting my son. He is 17, just got his first girlfriend but broke up with her just 2 weeks later over a text message. She did made all kinds of lame excuses, but I knew she was just playing him. The excuses she made were all bullshit. She just didn't like him and didn't want to tell him the truth, that he somehow didn't match up to her expectations and that it wasn't his fault that she didn't give him a chance. Plus there was a rumor she already had another boyfriend after saying her dad didn't approve of her having my son as her boyfriend. Way to throw your dad under the bus. I told him that the best revenge was to just be happy without her. I related a story on how I did that. I honestly didn't even remember this almost 30-year story until I had to console me heartbroken son. In high school, my sister had a friend named Jen. I knew she liked me because my sister kept trying to play matchmaker. Jen was upset that you didn't talk to her when she came over. I think you and Jen would be cute together. Things like that. This not so subtle hinting went on from my sophomore year all the way to my junior year. Jen isn't ugly or anything, but she wasn't my type physically. But in the end I gave in and asked her out. I never had a girlfriend before and figured it might be enjoyable. And it just went downhill from there. I actually liked her quite a bit and was more invested than I thought. But it wasn't reciprocated. It was like the nicer and more attentive I was to her, the more cold she was to me. I was really confused. I figured my sister was pulling a fast one on me because 3 weeks later she just broke up with me. This really devastated me. Was I just a pretty face with a boring life personality to her? Like once she got to know me, I just fell off the pedestal. Maybe I was too clingy? More into it than she was and it creeped her out? Like my son's situation, she was quick to get my replacement in less than a month, which made me feel even worse. Since we went to same school and she was my sister's friend, I couldn't make a clean break of her either, which made it worse. Well, it messed me up pretty bad that I didn't date for most of high school. Went to college after that, and the first summer back, my parents were out on vacation. Me and my sister invited some friends over, hang out and drink some alcohol. Some friends brought some more friends and their SOs. Me and my sister had lots of mutual friends, but most of them were hers. I was hoping to just relax playing video games until someone I knew dropped by. Of course, Jen was invited, so I really was planning on staying away from her at all cost. TBH, I wasn't looking forward to it. One of first people to arrive was a family friend, Stephanie, who I basically grew up with. For some reason her sister was there too, as well two of her friends. I didn't pay too much attention to the strangers until one of them just sat next to me, which I found strange. It was a long couch, not a love seat. She could have sat at the ends away from me, but she sat right next to me. Figuring I should be a good host, I introduce myself and she tells me she's Tina. Tall, well-built, pouty lips, great body. I was pretty impressed. I try to hide it by not making eye contact and continue playing my Soul Calibur 2, best fighting game ever. Make some small talk, and I just thinking, why is she talking to some loser playing video games when my house is already getting crowded with strangers? Now some people I actually did invite are coming through the door with beer, Johnny Walker and Goldschlager, and we are getting shit-faced. Somehow our little get-together has turned into a full-fledged house party. But Tina is just glued to me while I'm making the rounds. Eventually, we end up all gathered around the living room doing shots. I'm on the couch. Tina's sitting next to me with head on my shoulder like she's really tired. Then I just did something so out of character that I cringe to this day. I turn towards her, our noses touching, and tell her, go ahead. As if magnets were in lips, we had our tongues in each other's mouths in milliseconds. Just full-blown making out in front of everyone, including Jen. We must have made people uncomfortable because when we opened our eyes the full room was empty except for us. Then the front porch was getting a bit loud, so we went to check it out. We hear Jen yelling in the front lawn, "Op, you are mine. I had you first. You can't do this to me." Sobbing, drunk and loud, acting like I cheated on her even though we haven't been an item for years. And then she just kept yelling that while running down my street. A few people go to grab her before the neighbors called the cops. Tina looks at me all worried and asked if Jen and I had history. Bolstered by the alcohol, I just shrugged. I honestly didn't know I had that kind of effect of women. Sounds cocky, but I really didn't. She broke up with me after all. Why is she claiming ownership now? I finished giving Tina the tour of my bedroom that night and drove her room around 3 a.m. It was sloppy and not my best performance, but it was the first time for both of us. I can't believe I almost forgot losing my V-card if it wasn't for my son. Me and Tina did end up dating. It was my first serious relationship. I probably would have married her if the distance wasn't such an issue. But I did learn a lot. I learned that the best revenge is to just live well and rub it in other people's faces.